Hi, it's Rich B and AZ. I'm just going to do a front wheel remove and replace. So it's all set up. I've got a jack under the engine so I can lift that front wheel. I also have a board under the center stand because my rear tire is kind of larger than standard, so I need the room to be able to jack it up. Loosen off the bolts. These are 12mm bolts, so they come out pretty easy, especially once you've put some thread anti-seize on there. I use chain spray. As you're removing the caliper, you'll notice it's kind of tight on the disc. You can give it a little twist, not too much, just a little twist, and it'll come off a lot easier. And we can make that even easier later on. Okay, this is a 2001, so it has a mechanical speedo drive. So there is a Phillips head screw to undo. Okay, the drive does have an O-ring on the end where it plugs in, so make sure that's nicely greased and oiled so it slides in and out nice and easily so you don't cut it. Now, keep this out of the way while I'm working on it. I'm pulling it up and then twisting it over and sticking it up through the top loop where the brake is. That keeps it up and out the way. So the hex on this side is a 19. This is a 6mm Allen key head. And I'm leaving that one tight while I take the axle off, because that will stop the axle turning. This side is a 24mm. Off we go. I nearly forgot, very important, WD-40. What you want to do is spray a bit of WD-40 in right here. It's more than enough. These nuts have leaf type anti-rotation devices in them, locking features, and they can strip the thread on the axle. So for this nut, you want to make sure that is lubed when you take it off, especially when you take it off. So there's some prevailing torque on this still, and that comes from the locking feature. And here you can see the two locking leaves or tabs on the lock nut. They're the ones you've got to get lubed. Next step is loosening the pinch bolt. Don't have to take it out, just got to loosen it off like that. So this axle doesn't actually thread into the other side. So I'm just going to tap it through a little with a rubber mallet. Get it started. Then I'm going to jack the bike up just a little bit. And I know the weight is off when I can just start to spin it. I should be able to pull the axle straight out and it's all nicely aligned. Right, now I'm going to jack it up a bit higher so that I have room under the mud guard to pull it out. And out it comes. There's the one spacer this side, which I keep nicely greased up so that it doesn't squeal on the seal. And then on the other side we have the speedo drive, which I'm now just going to remove. Comes off as one assembly. Okay, bring the front wheel back in, take the speedo drive, should fit in easily. You can feel the little drive pin turning when you've got it properly engaged with that little sheet metal plate that's inside. I'm going to put the spacer in on the right hand side. It's a top hat shape. Got it all greased up. Just slides back in like that. Roll the wheel back into place. a little bit of lining up as we go. Now for this, I'm going to drop the bike a little bit. Right, so I'll be lowering the bike, just turning the jack down a little until I've got the holes mostly lined up. Probably about there. Let's see if we can get the axle back in. Notice there's a nice big gap here. There's a step in the axle. That goes against that spacer. This goes all the way through this bottom fork leg. So we're close. I think I might need to go back up just a little. And this is where it will catch. So you've got to sort of lift it a little. There we go. And it's slid in. And you got full threads out on this side, which is where we're going to put the washer and nut. So for the speedo drive, you want to turn that anti-clockwise until it hits that tab. That'll be okay to put the drive back in. So putting the nut back on, I'll put some white lithium grease on those tabs. It's just a matter of putting it on, spinning it on as far as it will go. Then you'll need to use the ratchet the rest of the way. So as you can see, I've got the 19mm socket on this side, the 24 on that side. This is where you actually need that hex that's on the shaft to stop it turning, because the pinch bolt is not tight, it's loose at this point. Okay, winding it up, and we're going to 44 foot-pounds. Here it is, done. Okay, so here's a handy tip. If you've got air in the brake system somehow, leave the reservoir cap on so it doesn't spill out all over the place. I've got a tyre lever here with mole grips. These are vice grips in America, mole grips in the UK. Just stick it in there and give it a twist. And the faster you can twist it, pushing the pistons back, the faster the fluid goes and takes the air out of the system, and it just dissipates up in the master cylinder. So you give it a little twist, and that's it. Those went back all the way. Now it's very easy to put back on. I've got to pull the speedo down, because there's a nice big gap. Easy, see, big gap. And then we're going to put this back in too. An easy way to get the speedo drive back in and to make sure that it actually fits on the little twisty bit, is to give the wheel a spin. So if you've got the bike jacked up and spinning the wheel, it's easy to stick that back in. Fits in easily. Okay, it's a bit fiddly getting this screw in, but just using your fingers, get the first couple of threads, and then you can start using the screwdriver on it. Spin that sucker in. Doesn't need to be terribly tight. Yeah, I guess I need to put the wheel back down, don't I? Alright, putting the bolts back in on the caliper. Should thread in easily, especially with that chain lube you've put on there. Always important to do. Steel corrodes into aluminum, so you want to make sure that doesn't happen. That's that snapping noise you hear when you undo those bolts. That's a dry joint lubricator. Torque here is 30 foot-pounds, which is, tight, not going to fall off. Okay, the last step is to plunge the forks up and down a bit. So I'm going to stand on the bike for that. Remember that I pumped all the fluid out of the brakes? Got to pump all that back into the brakes. This is a good reminder. This pushes the pistons back so you don't have that "oh crap" moment. Alright, we're there. Make the last one a gentle rise back, and that centers the right hand fork leg over the axle. Now you can go in and do the pinch bolt. Now, the pinch bolt torque is 20 foot-pounds. There it is, that actually feels about right too. And again, I've had this out once already and put chain lube on the threads to make sure it doesn't stick. And that's it, your wheel is now back in. So it should all be good to go. Brakes are on, and the tyre pressure's up, I just pumped it. Yep, we're done.